Hello everybody and welcome back to the Fantasy Football Fix YouTube channel and to another episode of Eddie versus the Algorithm, the series where myself, FPL Phillips, takes on the computer-generated team put together by the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm for every game week of the season in head-to-head fashion. So far, it's been a very interesting start to the campaign. 2 wins for me in game week 1 and 2, but the algorithm came back with a bang last week, scoring over 84 points, I believe. So it absolutely wiped the floor with me, to be honest, with the Haaland captaincy and everything involved. So yeah, it's 2-1 now in the series as we move into game week 4. I'm very excited to see what team the algorithm has lined up, and I've put together my own best 11 to try and outscore it 4 points this game week. If you are enjoying the series and have been following along, make sure to drop a thumbs up on the video. It really does help us out here. And yeah, without any more messing around, let's get into it, shall we? And have a look at the computer's predicted points highest scoring team. I messed that up. You know what I mean. The highest predicted point scoring team for game week 4. Let's have a look at it. So, as you can see, updated score at the bottom of your screen, 2-1 now to myself as we move into the 4th game week of the season. It's 67 predicted points for the algorithm, and to try and achieve that, it's put together this team. In goal, it's going to be Dean Henderson, and I thought this was an interesting pick to go for, given that Crystal Palace have not been a team renowned for doing well defensively so far this campaign. And to be honest, I thought I'd use this kind of thing to stimulate maybe just taking you guys over to the actual Fantasy Football Fix website and having a look at the process that I'd run through to actually analyse these picks and go and have a look for them myself and look at the data, etc. So, as you can see here, we've got the OptaStats tool from the Fantasy Football Fix website, which you can check out for yourself via the link below in the description. So say I wanted to have a look at this and kind of see how Crystal Palace or Dean Henderson as an individual player has been performing. I could do that with the toggle player, toggle stats, toggle team level at the top, which I press there. And then we can have a look at all the team data over the course of the season so far. We can also go back and look at other seasons, so I can change it to 2023 if I want to there. But if we go and have a look at the expected clean sheets so far this season, I can look per 90 minutes, and we can see Liverpool top. At the bottom, we've got teams like Everton, West Ham, Ipswich. I hope it's not too small on your screen, but we see Palace there coming in 5th. And obviously, expected clean sheets is sometimes used a bit sparingly. Expected goals conceded also lines up pretty well. So you've still got Crystal Palace down in the 6th worst of the bunch. And then I'd look to maybe find other keepers who from other teams who've been performing well and find teams with good fixtures as well, for which I'd use the fixture analyzer, which I'm not going to bring out today, but you can check out for yourself via the links down below in the description as well. So Palace overall, although Dean Henderson is a cheap, affordable goalkeeper, they've not been performing that well, and for that reason, I probably wouldn't have him in this week, even with the fixture against Leicester at home. I don't think Leicester have looked awful by any stretch of the imagination. And for that reason, I don't think I'm going to go with him. Well, I haven't gone with him. And yeah, Henderson is one that I think people who owned him at the start of the season are kind of getting a bit cold on and looking to shift out on a wild card whatever week that's coming up in. So it's a nice fixture, admittedly, for Crystal Palace. They could well keep a clean sheet this game week, but in terms of defences in form, I'm not really quite sure they're the one. Teams like Brentford have had much tougher fixtures, but still have a goalkeeper at 4.5 million with some better expected goals conceded data and, okay games coming up, I suppose. But this week, you're not going to go for Flecken, obviously. In defence, we've got Trent Alexander-Arnold, Lewis Dunk, Rico Lewis, and then Munoz of Crystal Palace. So double up on those Palace defenders. And again, here's the point where you could look towards the OptaStats tool and have a look at the kind of 4.5 mil defender bracket. If you're on a wild card, you're going to want to look at some defenders under 5 million and then filter in adjusted defenders. I'll look per 90 minutes. And then my favourite statistic on here, the expected FPL points, filtering it by that. And often you really have to put a minimum minutes in, or you're going to get players who've been on the pitch for just 5 minutes and might have nearly got 1 assist. So we've got Milenkovic here, we've got Rico Lewis then coming in second. So I think that reinforces what you see with your eye test, that he's a fantastic pick. There are other options here. You got Luca Dean, who is a troll and will never go near my FPL team again. But you've got some good options in here, and I think it's just to display, really, what you're getting out of the Fantasy Football Fix site. We've had some great offers on recently, so get over there, check it out for yourself. Definitely only like the one tool you need, if anything, to analyze stats and data and use it all. You can see here with the stats on XG, stuff like that. You can filter it by so many things. You've got so many different categories with involvement. You've got set pieces. You've got all that stuff. So yeah, I don't think you need to hear more about me from that today. I'm just going to go through and tell you what I think about each of these players based on what I've done with looking at the stats and using my own eye test in person. So yeah, the Trent obviously is a great pick. Trent versus Robertson's been a bit of a debate this week. You could go and compare those two, for example, over Fantasy Football Fix, which you'd find that the data is pretty close. Trent has that higher assist threat. I think Robertson's had some more goal threat. So it's quite close when you come to expected goal involvements overall, but Trent is great for bonus. He's obviously got that kind of set piece threat. We've only had 3 game weeks so far, so sample sizes are still relatively small. I think that if you can get the extra money, I think Trent, Robertson and Salah is probably your optimal Liverpool triple up right now, if you can afford it though. So Duncan Lewis, 2 pretty good looking 4.5 mil defenders, not literally, but in terms of FPL, well, nothing against the 2 of them. I'm sure they're both fine looking chaps to whoever's interested in them. Dunk and Lewis then, I think Dunk's in it for the fixtures really. Ipswich at home, obviously a great one. Same with Man City. Brentford at home, we've not got competitions to worry about as we're only picking for 1 game week, so Lewis's minutes should be pretty good for this game week. I still think he's worth it if you're on a wild card. Personally, he'd be in my team there, and he's going to be in my team this week. Munoz has been pretty attacking still this season, but as I mentioned, Crystal Palace haven't impressed much defensively. However, with the fixture against Leicester at home, you do have to kind of back a team who did so well last season against a promoted side at home, within the first 4 game weeks of the season when we don't really have too much else to go on. And then in midfield, we've obviously got Mohamed Salah who comes in here, but only taking the vice-captain's armband, which is interesting. We've then got Luis Diaz, his teammate, partnering him up alongside Erebechi Eze. So yeah, completed Crystal Palace triple up, which is pretty unsurprising given Eze's form. I was very firm on holding him last week for people, and lo and behold, he came good, even against Chelsea. I was saying, don't bench him for players like Rodgers, etc. I think Eze just has that talismanic nature about his play. He's just clearly quality, and he oozes it on the pitch. He should have had multiple returns in the game weeks where he blanked. And yeah, it was no surprise that he came good, really, and I think he could continue to do that again this game week. Salah and Luis Diaz don't really need much to talk about there. Luis Diaz, the only thing I'd be worried about is, of course, those early substitutions where we're seeing Darwin and Gakpo coming on for Jota and Diaz pretty much every game around the 70-75 minute mark. But you do get some real explosivity with Diaz. His data, underlying stats look really, really good, especially per 90. But then, of course, you've got a little bit of that minutes worry. For me, though, I think he is the second choice midfielder, maybe now ahead of Jota, if you're on a Liverpool attacking double up. And then finally, up front, we've got Erling Haaland, Alexander Isak, and Danny Welbeck. So the team does kind of pick itself this game week with some teams that have looked pretty decent, having good fixtures, and then Crystal Palace. So yeah, you've got Haaland in, you've got Welbeck in. Isak and Newcastle have been underwhelming in my view. I think a popular set of transfers this week is Isak and Saka out to try and bring in Salah for those who don't have him with a cheaper forward, maybe like a João Pedro. So yeah, I think you could easily hold on to Isak for 1 more week. I don't think Wolves are an impressive side. I think Newcastle are going to come good. They've done okay away from home. They have scored goals at Bournemouth, etc. So Isak is a hold for me unless you've got the benefit of those free transfers or you're on a wild card pretty much. And it's encouraging to see him in the Fantasy Football Fix algorithms predicted highest point scoring team for Game Week 4 as an owner myself. Danny Welbeck against João Pedro is an interesting one. I think it's been pretty neck and neck. You've just got age going against Welbeck. You've got minutes going against Welbeck. You've got the fact that João Pedro has moved to that forward position when Welbeck's gone off the pitch going against Welbeck. And you've also got penalties going against him. So for me, there is just enough to swing me in the other direction currently. And then finally, on the bench, you've got Verbruggen, you've got, I don't even know who that is, Rodgers and Wings. So yeah, we'll move into having a look at my team now, how it compares to this one, and then you guys can leave below in the comments, if you kindly would, which team you think is going to score more points for Game Week 4. So yeah, sorry if this video has felt a bit jumbled today. We're trying something new with the statistics. I'm aware that maybe not everyone wants to see that, but if you want, you can go check it out for yourself, as mentioned with the links below. But this is my team for this game week. I've gone with Martinez of Villa in goal. Everton at home, I think, is a decent fixture. Although Everton have scored goals, I've considered going Calvert-Lewin. I think he's a good option to go for. Maybe if you want like a differential on a wild card this week or a differential forward pick. I actually quite like the look of Calvert-Lewin, and I think Everton could get something there. but I do back Martinez as a keeper option, had the extra bit of 0.5 million over the 4.5s, so he's the one I've gone for. I've then gone for that optimal Liverpool triple up that I mentioned, that I think is probably the best one that I'd have on a wild card this week, so Robertson, Trent and Mo Salah. I then got Rico Lewis in there still, as well as Eze, and then a Brighton triple up on the attack, so Minte, Matoma and João Pedro. So I really think that Brighton could do something good against Ipswich this week. I think it might be quite an open and attacking game. I think Ipswich will probably go for it. We've seen them be quite brave already in the Premier League so far. So yeah, high scoring hopefully in that one for me. And then finally, I've gone with Nicholas Jackson with Chelsea up against Bournemouth. He's been in pretty decent form, and where you're struggling to find certainty around minutes in the midfield options, I think Jackson offers a pretty nice kind of budget alternative. So yeah, that's my team. Let me know down below in the comments which you think is going to score more points, as we'll have a quick discussion about the captaincy now, and whether or not for those with Salah and Haaland, the right one to put the armband is clear and obvious. So yeah, as I mentioned, I think there's only really two standout captains options this week. If you don't own Salah or Haaland, what are you doing? But they're both predicted 8 points for this game week on the dot by the Fantasy Football Fix algorithm. So Haaland will have been very, very slightly ahead in terms of decimal points. But yeah, the fixtures, obviously two very strong home games for the pair of them. Brentford for Haaland, Nottingham Forest for Salah. I personally, this week, would just about go for Haaland, but I'll explain why. I think Salah is as close to, if not a better option. I think you back Haaland. He's obviously scored 2 hat-tricks in a row. Could make it 3. He's looked fantastic this season. I think if you've watched Haaland play for a decent number of minutes, you'll see he looks different to last season. He looks better in my view than last season. He looks leaner. He looks more hungry, I'd argue, maybe as well. But on the other hand, you've got Salah, gets that extra point for the clean sheet, the extra point for a goal when he gets it. He's also got a great record on Saturday and also a great record at home, against Nottingham Forest. So there's a lot to go for both of them. It's really, really another kind of 50-50 gut feeling, eye test, then plus who you own, pretty much. So there's not much else I'm going to add, I think, to this debate in terms of captaincy this week. It's very, very hard to pick. You guys just make the call for yourselves. I'm sorry to be so useless in this regard. But yeah, that's going to wrap up today's video. I hope you guys have enjoyed it. As I mentioned before, if you do leave a thumbs up, that would be hugely appreciated. Drop the comment as well. And yeah, if you're new around here, feel free to subscribe. And other than that, I'll see you in the next video. May your arrows be green. I'll catch you later. Goodbye.